Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. The way players interact with the world is extremely important, and Star Citizen is going to allow for a huge amount of interaction, change, and even customization in the verse. This video is talking about the way that we will interact with the world, the gameplay behind that, and customization that brings, as well as how it all works for 3.0 and beyond. So what is the interaction system? The interaction system has evolved from the older press FTU system and the grabby hand stuff, literally picking up and interacting with boxes. It allows for a much greater interaction with our environments, giving contextual uses to items that are nearby, and the ability to individually flick switches and buttons that have functions, manipulate objects, and a huge amount of potential gameplay is there. It's the way that we make use and interact with the Item 2.0 system in a lot of cases as well, giving actual uses that we can change with those items. For Star Citizen Alpha 3.0, we're going to be able to pick up boxes and items, we're going to be able to interact with some of them and place them down, as well as having a lot more interaction with ships, cockpits, consoles, environments, and shopping UIs. Between 3.0 and 3.2, we're going to get a lot, more and more functionality of this, getting more fleshed out when it comes to contextual uses for these individual objects and usables in general. The current plan of how it works are hold F to go into an assisted interactive mode, highlighting the objects that you can use, such as doors, buttons, switches, weapons. I assume that this highlight feature could be turned off or change colour or softened if you wish as well. Contextual options will appear for an object as soon as you're within range. You'll be able to interact with that object in your hands, or if it's on your body, placed somewhere too, or even if it's on a table. Objects can be thrown, turned, placed, but we'll also have those unique options based on the object and context. There will still be a quick select function to access default actions for players that think maybe like tapping F on an object will do its most common function. So for doors, it would open and close. The inner thought system now kind of more applies to you interacting with your character as a contextual object. You can perform emotes, access your inventory, select weapons and items, and use the mobi-glass from here, or quick functions based on what you're doing. NPCs will interact with objects and have the same functions that players do as well. AI will be able to interact with pretty much any item in the world. The system is incredibly flexible, so simple actions like AIs leaning against walls will be a thing, as well as more complex ones. So they'll be able to open a locker, access power supplies, inspect an item, and then remove broken components if they're repairing something and replace it with a new working one, and then restart the system. So the whole interaction system as a whole, whether it's performed by a player or an AI, basically allows them to use all of those same features and functions together, and they can even work on the same item together in some situations as well. Players are going to have inventories as well, and they're not going to be unrealistic, so many items will be physicalized on your character, so weapons on your back, that sort of stuff. So armor will have attachment points for different items, ammo, grenades, weapons, clothing and pouches will allow objects to be placed inside of them too, of an appropriate size. Some of these attachment points will have restrictions, grenades only, holsters for weapons, and some of these items will allow for specific items to be then placed or attached onto them again. So in the case of adding a holster, it would be then allowing a gun to be equipped in that holster. There will be inventory management tools via the mobi-glass app as well, but this isn't going to let you carry assault rifles in your pockets, for example. They'll easily be able to place items down or give them or throw them to another player is the idea here. So say you could grab a magazine of ammunition from your chest and then chuck it to another friend or player during a combat. And this sort of gameplay is going to be pretty cool. Weapons, so item ports now allow objects to be physically attached to other objects, such as how a sight is attached to a gun. With weapons, they're adding a modular system for a lot of this customization, allowing for items to get different scopes, flashlights, attachments, muzzles, mods, and all that sort of jazz to be placed upon them, so you can have pretty custom weapons. Cockpit interactivity, so ships' cockpits are going to have a lot of buttons and controls. Most of them, if not all of them, will be accessible via the interaction system, so you can press buttons, flick stuff, or use things. This is going to be especially important for the multi-function displays, allowing you to customize these and have your own bespoke functions for them. This is going to give a huge amount of immersion for players that want it, but you're still going to be able to use hotkeys, and this gives some extra added functions as well, allowing you to, if you've forgotten the hotkey for something, look around your ship and interact with it, change what you're doing on your multifunction displays, look around your cockpit, and that sort of jazz. So for alien ships, I find this an interesting concept as well. If I steal an actual Vandal ship from a Vandal cruiser or something, do I have to randomly push buttons if I don't know what those buttons do? If it's an alien ship in general, do I instantly know what functions those switches do? Or can I even use alien ships? I mean, that's the other thing, isn't it? And maybe you have to capture them in a different way and bring them back to make them serviceable and usable for humans. Multi-crew control consoles. So the system allows you to use much more interaction with consoles and areas around them. This is very important for multi-crew gameplay, so you'll be adjusting shields, there'll be mini-games for fixing power plants, redistributing power, sealing off doors. Think FTL and the kind of functions that we can do with consoles. This combined with render-to-texture, we could see some interactive security camera systems for consoles as well, and much, much more. But for the operation of mining lasers, cargo management, course plotting, and a huge amount of the more interactive job roles aboard a ship that aren't necessarily just piloting, this is going to be essential for the interaction that we have with these consoles and controls here. And like how engineers, when you've got a captain screaming at the engineer to fix something on a console, and he's saying he hasn't got the power, and he needs to reroute all the power to the warp core and all that sort of jazz. So this kind of function that we're going to get with these consoles and them interacting with the items and actual subsystems, and Item System 2.0 is essential for what Star Citizen wants to do. And with shopping UIs as well, I suppose shopping UIs are another example of consoles. We're going to be able to interact and purchase goods via terminals using the interaction system to navigate between pages and items, add up what we want and click on buy. Think of these as like self-service checkouts at a shop or fast food store. And our kind of environment is going to be vastly more interactive. So we're going to be able to interact with the environment, allowing us to complete missions in a huge amount of different ways. We're going to be able to hide things in cupboards, lockers, drawers. This could be for smuggling or security. We're going to be able to place bombs, bugs, traps, place things in other places for other players to find. There can be complex items as well using this system. So some items might have compartments in separately, their own power supplies, and various functions as complex as a ship and their subsystems, but all within a single object. The ones that we've seen so far are a functional mini radar that can be turned on and off and has compartments for batteries and can be interacted with in your hands or on a table, but it's fully working. The other one we've seen is as well as basically data pads and computers in a similar way that will work like shopping UIs, I suppose. And I suppose another example of that is actually the game Prey. They've got the computers that you can interact with, click different buttons, a very simple version of that. Defusing a bomb and puzzles as well. So these complex things that you could do with the system, you could flip a bomb to a certain angle, cut wires, have complex puzzles involving physics, objects, interaction, and other systems. One of the joys of this is there doesn't have to be a particular single solution for the single-player game Squadron 42, or for Star Citizen when they go, well, let's make this modular mission, but there's like 12 different ways of completing it, you just have to get to here. They can provide us the tools and then see what we do with them when it comes to an interaction system and all the physics and Item System 2.0. The possibilities for emergent gameplay in the verse are basically infinite, and all of these systems, including like the room system to pressurization and all that, coming together with this interaction system is what it's all about. The looting system as well. If you see a liftable box that you want, you'll have to pick it up and take it back to your ship. Some ground vehicles might be able to assist and carry some of that load of items, and smaller boxes though, so it's not going to be incredibly tedious if you see like 3 boxes you want and you go, well, it's going to take me ages to get them back to my ship. Some items are going to require you to use both hands as well though, and they've got various animations for all of this, aiding in the placement of these larger items onto shelves and taking them down, and that sort of jazz too. Cargo. So cargo everything's going to need to be in its correct place. The cargo bay is the correct place for most cargo, or an appropriate secure place. So when I say secure, if it's placed correctly in the cargo bay or in its correct place, then it's secure and will appear on your manifest. Your manifest will be how you manage items on your ship, how you buy and sell them as well. Other areas that would be safe or secure in your ship would be drawers, cupboards, lockers, and gun racks. But having a cargo container placed in the middle of a hallway would not be secure. Unsecure items won't appear in your ship's manifest, can get damaged, and will move around in transit, and could possibly be dangerous for passengers. The Control Manager system. So the Control Manager is how ship components and weapons are assigned to players and NPCs. This will allow players to dictate the control of an item and its subsystems. Some items will have AI modules controlling them, so maybe a turret that defends the ground or something. Others will have operator seats, or both, so that players or NPCs can use them. These operator seats would allow functions of whatever they're connected to, doors, the ship, like a pilot seat, ship systems, or a turret. So that Control Manager is important there. Access and prevention. There will be systems in place to allow access to ships and systems to specific players and NPCs. So you could set certain players to have access to certain doors, or certain systems, or certain consoles. The interaction system can lock and unlock interactions as well as filter available interactions based on the interactor, be it players or NPCs. This prevents players pulling pins on other people's grenades or grabbing their items off them. I'm really liking the options for the interaction system and Item 2.0 and what it provides. It resolves exploits and bugs of players entering turrets and seats from like outside the ship that we had in the older placeholder system, so you won't be able to walk up to a ship and just glitch through because you were able to interact with the turret. You're going to have to be able to physically see the console you're working on, basically. I'd like to be able to toggle interactive mode on and off with the interaction system, because it's going to be holding F is kind of a ball ache, and I like the idea of having hotkeys that go straight to a particular inner thought section as well. The potential gameplay from this is staggering and exciting, and eventually all of the interactions with the objects, ships, and consoles in-game will also remain persistent. And that's another exciting thing as well. You can set booby traps, you can set traps in general, smuggle stuff for later, hide things on planets, that sort of stuff. Anyway, every month we give away a ship. For May, it's an Avenger Titan. All you need to do is to be subscribed to my YouTube channel, I Can't Words, and comment on any of my Star Citizen content during the month. My next video is going to be about the Aegis Eclipse and its kind of ship buyer's guide and concept sale. So do you have any questions about that ship? It's going to be a bomber, you know that, and it's a military ship and Black Opsy and stealthy. Do you have any questions about concept sales in general, or anything about this video? Do you have any questions for me or about Star Citizen? A special thanks to my Patreons who allow me to create the amount of content I do. You guys are absolutely amazing. If you are interested in becoming a Patreon, a link to that below as well as pretty much everything else we've talked about. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the verse.